Well, we're on the phone today with Ray Clark, CPA and MBA of Clark & Clark Accounting, and Ray has a lot of different clients, but one of his specialties is auto dealerships. And so, Ray, could you talk a little bit about, I guess, your experience from an accounting and a CPA standpoint about auto dealerships, what makes them different than other businesses, and how you help them make sure that they get their books done properly?
Yes, I can do that because we do several auto dealerships here in Salt Lake City. One thing that we notice about auto dealerships and the way that they run their companies is they're divided into three different businesses, actually. One part of the business is parts sales, and another part is repairs on cars, and the other is car sales. And going back to the first point right here, parts, it's very important that they keep track of their inventory and what they paid for that, and they keep an inventory on hand so that they have sufficient supplies for the cars that they're working on, and also supplies for people who come in the door and need to buy parts for their own car. And so that is very important too, and they need to know what their cost is into it so that they can mark it up correctly, and they have to keep a running inventory so that they don't run short. And in a way, this is like a retail business where they have their inventory and they bring it in when they sell it, and make sure that they don't run out. And so that's very important too. They need to make sure that they're making money on the parts because that's part of the whole business of this too. The other part of a dealership is you'll find you'll always be bringing your cars into these companies, and they'll be able to repair your cars, and they also change your oil, and they do those types of things, maintenance, regular maintenance, and so on. And this is actually pretty important when it applies to the inventory and so on, because inventory goes into these parts and repairs and so on. And a lot of these repairs that they do come right out of the inventory that they have on hand, and they actually mark it up on a lot of these repairs, and they make money on doing the repair, and they also make money on the parts. And so on the repairs, it's pretty critical to have a cost management system so that they can apply the parts to the repairs of the car, and also apply the labor to the cars also, so that they know that they're making money on those. And there is a standard on repairs on what the general industry charges for certain kind of repairs. They know how long it takes to make these repairs, and so the technicians, they need to know what these numbers are also when they put their time into the cars and so on. So when it comes to that, that's very important. And so we're moving inventory, and we're putting repairs into cars. And the last part of these auto sales is a unique part also. When it comes to car sales, the inventory needs to have what we call in accounting specific identification. In other words, these cars cost a lot of money, and they need to be identified specifically. And when they're identified specifically, they need to know what costs they've got into it, what they paid, in other words, what they paid for at an auction, and also how much they plan on selling it to make the profit that they need. One company that I know of, they know that they have a goal to make $2,000 profit on each car that they sell. And so accordingly, when they go into auction and buy their cars, they know ahead of time what the fair market value is and what they should be paying for the car when they buy it at auction or when they buy it as a trade-in from other dealerships. So in a way, it's like I have described to other people, and that is it's similar to real estate. A lot of times we know a house is below market, and we make our money up front when we purchase a house cheap. And it's the same way with cars. They have to be purchased at the right price, and know that they're not going to have to put a lot of repairs into it to be able to turn it around and sell it. And so when it comes to car sales, this is very critical to know what your profit is before you go in and buy the car. And hopefully you know a little bit about cars when you buy these cars to know that there won't be a lot of repairs into these too. So that's another strategy. And each one of these has some overhead to be applied to it, and so that you can make your profit on selling cars. We have one client that actually was bringing in $1.5 million in car sales and repairs and so on, and they weren't keeping track of their inventory on their cars specifically, and they couldn't figure out why they weren't making any money at the end of the year after bringing in $1.5 million of gross sales. And after we went through and started looking at some of these things, we started applying costs to the cars that they were buying and reselling, and finding that there was no profit in them. And so they actually had to go back and reevaluate how they bought cars, how they applied costs of the business to the cars, and their strategy changed. And now they're making more profit now, where they used to have no profit as a bottom line before. So when it comes to auto dealerships, we're talking about a unique animal here, and the accounting is actually a bit difficult, where you have to keep track of your inventory and so on. We actually do what we call monthly full service, monthly accounting for several dealerships here in Salt Lake City, and we know how to do those things, even though it requires them to do a little bit of work on their part, where they have to go out every month and count their inventory and give us a parts inventory number and so on, so that we can get their books correct. We do that for them, and they're glad to know where they stand at the end of every month, and especially at the end of the year.
Ray, that sounds great, especially if things like that can make the difference between, like you said, being profitable and just breaking even or losing money. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, that's a dealer, maybe they're working with a current accountant or a CPA right now, and that they'd maybe like for you to take a look at what they're doing, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
The best way is to give us a call right here in Salt Lake. The phone number is 801-521-4538, and the other way is our email. Our email is staff@clarkaccountingcpa.com, and by either way that you contact us, we'd be glad to help you.
Great. Ray, thank you very much. I appreciate it.